the shooting. I heard a crash.
What happened when EMTs got to the scene?
The paramedics began life-saving measures
Get a hammer, get a hammer.
to pull the victim out of the vehicle.
You don't shoot 8 rounds at somebody unless you're trying to kill them. It was chilling.
I got put into this room. There's a video camera on me. I thought I'm out of my skin. I don't know what's going on. He was asking me, does Ryan have enemies? Does he have infidelity, gambling? That's not my Ryan.
All my theories were out the window.
It's amazing to watch it. What struck me was how calm the shooter was.
The killer was waiting for Ryan to arrive at that stop sign.
He just runs out after the car and starts shooting. It's completely brazen.
Based on seeing that video, how are the details coming together?
I knew it was a targeted attack, but I needed to figure out who actually pulled the trigger.
October 20th, 2021. It was just after 9 on a peaceful Colorado morning when a hail of gunfire triggered an unusual 911 call from a frightened young woman.
I just witnessed the shooting. I was at the bus stop here, and a car was going across the street, so I was chasing behind them shooting.
Was this person shooting at the vehicle?
Yes, they were. And I heard a crash.
The caller was so scared, she jumped onto the bus to escape. When officers arrived, they saw the carnage that had followed the hail of gunfire.
You got a bus right here? No. He's trapped in the vehicle, doors locked.
It appeared that the victim had lost control of his car after being shot.
Broken glass here.
Then it had rolled through the intersection until it collided with a trailer parked on the side of the road.
So what exactly did you see?
I didn't see nothing. I was inside the kitchen and I heard boom, 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 and then
What happened when EMTs got to the scene?
Both the officers and the paramedics began life-saving measures to pull the victim out of the vehicle.
Get a hammer, get a hammer.
Was he conscious as they pulled him out of his car?
He was not.
How do you doing CPR?
They were doing CPR while they were taking him to the hospital.
While officers continued to process the area for evidence, Detective Troy Raines took command of the investigation. What were some of the first steps you took when you arrived at the scene?
I wanted to see where the bullets had impacted the vehicle.
He then interviewed the eyewitness who called 911.
We actually had a patrol officer go meet with her and bring her back to the scene.
The shaken young woman added more details to her shocking story.
She saw a guy come to the intersection. He was standing there. And she watched him run out into the intersection.
She hears the gunshots, sees the suspect running after the victim's car and shooting, and then she heard the vehicle crash.
As the witness watched in horror, she feared she could be next.
She actually says that he turns and they make eye contact.
But instead of shooting her, the masked man in black simply ran away. Was she able to provide a description of the suspect?
It was limited.
She was able to say that he was an African-American male, tall and thin.
What was valuable to us is that she had the presence of mind to watch where he went after the fact. She saw the suspect run back through a field that was adjacent to that intersection.
How close did she think the shooter was when he fired into the car?
She described him as almost running up to the car as he's firing.
Would you describe it as almost point-blank range?
I would say probably within 2 to 3 feet.
The intersection where this happened is a 3-way intersection. There's a stop sign there for traffic. It's completely brazen. He just runs out after the car and starts shooting in broad daylight.
the victim's bloodstained wallet confirmed his identity.
Looks like he is the RO of that vehicle. What's his name? Ryan Dillard.
Even for veteran detectives, the sheer brutality of what had happened to Ryan Dillard was difficult to digest. As you examine the car, what did the damage tell you about how vicious of an attack this had been?
There were multiple strikes into the vehicle, and you could tell they were definitely directed towards the driver's side of the vehicle.
The shooter left little behind. Almost everything police recovered had come from his 9mm handgun.
I think he was shooting. There's another one right there. Yeah.
What evidence was gathered from the scene?
There were several shell casings that the suspect left behind in the street in a pattern that you could see spread out as he was running.
Well, I was just trying to see if there's a trail, like if they went this way. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We had 7 or 8 shell casings recovered from the road, and then the bullets recovered from the vehicle. It's an excessive amount of rounds given the circumstances and the distance.
Wonder which way he was coming, from the north or south. He went right through these trees here, though.
Investigators used the evidence to formulate a theory of how the ambush-style attack unfolded.
As he came to that stop sign is when the shooter came out and started shooting at him.
The first shot incapacitated the driver.
Then the car just drifted over and made impact into the trailer in the yard. It was obvious he had no physical abilities to stop him crashing.
As investigators continued to scour the area looking for clues, they got their first big break in the case.
What area do you need footage from?
Well, I mean, I guess
They discovered that a camera mounted on a nearby warehouse had captured most of the gut-wrenching crime.
The warehouse that abuts that intersection had a motion-activated camera, and we got really lucky that a semi-trailer happened to be rolling through that parking lot when this shooting occurred, and it activated the camera.
What was your reaction when you saw actual video of the massacre?
I was the first person to watch that video, and what struck me was how calm the shooter was initially. He arrived, and it looks like he's stretching and warming up. It's amazing to watch it.
Detective Grog continued to gather critical clues as the video rolled. It appeared the shooter might have been waiting for Ryan.
Several vehicles do pass, and he never approaches any of those cars. It's only when Ryan's vehicle rolls up that he runs out from behind the sign and starts shooting. That footage literally stopped the second the shots were fired and the car started to roll across the intersection, so we never had video of where the car ended up.
The video had police convinced the attack was planned and executed by someone who wanted Ryan Dillard dead.
It was obvious that Mr. Dillard was the target of this shooting. If the individual was just looking to randomly shoot, he had multiple opportunities before Mr. Dillard arrived at that stop sign.
Detectives were still at the scene when they got the tragic news that Ryan Dillard had been declared dead. The case was now officially a homicide investigation.
There had to be a reason why someone would target him, and the first thing you look at is what's going on in his personal life, that he has done something to make someone mad enough to want to shoot him and kill him.
Although police had video evidence that documented the grisly crime, it was clear that identifying the killer wouldn't be easy. And the first step of the investigation would likely be the most challenging: informing Ryan Dillard's loving wife that he was never coming home. The planned and targeted murder of Ryan Dillard meant meant the initial conversations with those close to him would be difficult. Even his wife was a suspect. You had the twin task of not only breaking the sad news, but also trying to find out if his wife had anything to do with the murder.
Yes, it was a difficult moment because you're trying to be consoling, but at the same time, I was asking her very personal questions. It was not the most pleasant conversation.
For Ryan's wife, Melanie, it was an excruciating experience. She had barely begun to process that her husband of 18 years had been shot to death, taken from her forever in the blink of an eye. What happened when you got to the police department?
I got put into this room. My mind's going in all these different directions. There's a video camera on me.
Melanie, again, very sorry. This happened today.
I feel like I'm gonna jump out of my skin. I don't know what's going on.
Did you feel at times that you were being looked at as a potential person of interest?
Yes, Detective Raines is trying to do his due diligence and understand what might be the actual motive.
I have to build a background to figure out what's going on.
It was so uncomfortable to be in that room. He was asking me, does Ryan have enemies? Does he do drugs? Does he drink? Does he have infidelity, gambling? And all I just kept saying was, that's not my Ryan. That's not my Ryan.
It didn't take long for police to confirm Melanie was not involved. Everyone who knew the couple described their marriage as a storybook romance.
Ryan and I will honestly say we were each other's persons. He was a man of his word. If you were in his close-knit circle and he trusted you, he would do anything for you.
Could you think of anyone who would have had a reason to target him?
No, I couldn't think of anything. You know, there's no nefarious activities, nothing.
Still, based on the crime scene evidence, it was clear that Ryan did have a deadly enemy, whether Melanie knew it or not. That led detectives to dig deeper.
We were able to download the contents of his cell phone to see whether there was a debt for gambling or was he involved in some kind of use of drugs that she wasn't aware of. And we found absolutely nothing.
How puzzling was it to you that he didn't have a lifestyle that would seem to have put him at risk?
Very puzzling because now all my theories that I had for why this occurred were out the window.
Detectives could only hope that retracing Ryan's last known movements might advance the investigation. They asked Melanie what she remembered about that final morning.
Like you said, normally it leaves like around 7:40. Did you leave at that time this morning?
Did it seem to start off like a normal day?
Oh, absolutely. I worked from home. I was making coffee. And I remember he grabbed all of his stuff, gave me a hug. He said, I love you. And he said, think about what you want to do this weekend.
When were you expecting to see him again?
I was expecting him to be home around 6, maybe 6:30 that night.
Then Melanie mentioned something that piqued investigators' interest. Ryan had just started a new job as a manager at a food distribution warehouse.
I was just excited to learn the lay of the land. Everything was still so new and so fresh.
But for investigators, it was the location of his office that caught their attention. The facility was just steps from the crime scene.
We discovered that he'd only been at that location for a week.
Officers were told that Ryan had arrived for work on time that morning, and several people had seen him walk out the front door shortly before he was killed. Why was he leaving the building at that time?
Coworkers had said, it's your time to go get breakfast, and he was leaving to go do that.
Police quickly verified their account. Did the distribution center have surveillance cameras?
Yes.
How many of them?
Multiple. Outside the warehouse, inside the distribution center, and by the gates
Ryan didn't appear nervous or in a hurry. It was obvious he had no idea he was driving into a deadly trap. Meanwhile, additional clues continue to pour in. A canine team processing the field near the crime scene made an important find.
They walked through the field and we recovered a 9mm 6-hour magazine that was lying in the field that still had a live round in the magazine.
It was a match to the shell casings found in and around Ryan's car. Was there any doubt in your mind that that magazine was connected to the murder?
No.
The 9mm magazine confirmed the eyewitness account. The shooter had, in fact, fled across that field. And a canvas of the neighborhood just beyond it was about to change the course of the investigation in a way no one could have imagined. Police now knew the murder of Ryan Dillard had been a cold-blooded execution, but they still had no idea why. And that made any strange encounters he had in the days leading up to the crime a potential clue for police.
Could you think of anything that happened in the days and weeks before the murder that now seemed unusual to you?
Yes, there was an incident Monday night. The doorbell rang, and he's the one who got up, went downstairs, opened the door. When he came back up, his demeanor had changed. And I said, well, he was at the door. What's going on?
Ryan told his wife there had been a man at the door asking if he could come in and use the couple's phone. Ryan said no and shut the door.
And I said, well, that's kind of strange. And I didn't think anything of it other than it was an odd situation.
Did he say if he saw any vehicles with this guy or anything?
No, he didn't say anything like that.
Detectives pressed Melanie for more details.
What did she tell you?
She said that around 9 p.m. there was a knock on the door. Within a couple minutes, Ryan comes back and he explained it was kind of weird. The person was dressed in black with a COVID-style mask over his face.
Like a gator, the neck thing that you slide over?
Yeah.
And was asking to come in and use their phone.
The description of the man's clothing and mask struck a chord with detectives. It was eerily similar to what the shooter had been wearing at the crime scene.
Did you think it was possible it was connected to Ryan's murder?
I did. The person who killed Ryan was at their house 2 days prior.
Still, police kept their suspicions close to the vest.
Did any security tape back up Melanie's story?
No, there were no cameras anywhere in her neighborhood.
Investigators hoped for better luck finding evidence along the route the shooter had fled after killing Ryan.
Police canvassed the area in and around the crime scene. Was there anything else you learned?
Yes, they found a residence that had video cameras. And watching those, we were able to see the shooter coming back and get into a gray Jeep Cherokee.
Was the video clear enough to make out the suspect's face?
No.
But as police continued to review the surveillance video, the homeowner himself remembered something critical.
The homeowner mentioned that they saw that same vehicle prior to the shooting.
And the homeowner told police he was confident his camera captured it as well.
The officers went back in time to before the shooting, saw when that vehicle first arrived.
The video depicted the killer's Jeep Cherokee pull up and park behind a silver car.
They was able to see two vehicles, the gray Jeep Cherokee that was being driven by the shooter and the silver sedan at about 8:15 that morning.
Could you make out what was going on between the driver of the Jeep and the driver of the silver sedan?
The only thing you could see was the shooter gets into the passenger seat of the silver sedan. They're in there for about 7 minutes, and then the shooter gets out, gets back in the Jeep Cherokee.
Did you make out anything about either of the men's appearances?
You never see the driver of the silver sedan. The driver of the Jeep Cherokee was clearly wearing all dark clothing and a COVID-type mask. Also appeared to have white gloves on.
Based on seeing that video, how were the details coming together in your mind at that point?
I already knew there was a target. So now I'm starting to think there's more to it.
We're basically thinking that these two have met up to talk about what's about to happen, and that the two of them are in on it.
It was a stunning revelation.
Whoever's driving the silver sedan is probably my individual who's actually planning this murder.
Police investigating the murder of Ryan Dillon now have evidence that indicated the brazen shooting was actually part of an organized plot.
Had you ever worked on a case where the surveillance showed you what had happened?
It's the first time I've ever seen a meetup beforehand to commit the murder.
But despite the shocking video, detectives still had no idea who was behind the attack or why. Detective Raines was confident he explored every potential motive except for one.
Where did you then turn your attention?
I had to turn to the workplace. My concern was now there was something going on there that caused this murder to happen.
His hunch was mostly based on geography. The shooter's need for the silver sedan had taken place within a mile or two of Ryan's new job. Now, Detective Raines hoped to find out more.
I wanted to get surveillance footage of the employee parking lot to see if I could find these same two vehicles at the distribution center itself.
What did you find?
I was unable to find them at all in the employee parking lot.
Still, Detective Raines remained convinced that Ryan's job was somehow connected to his murder. And an anonymous tip about some shady activity at the distribution center gave him the break he was waiting for.
What was the rumor that was making the rounds at the distribution center?
That an employee working for Capstone Logistics was running a payroll scam. He was using that payroll scam to steal money from the company.
Police intrigued.
Maybe somehow this whole thing was related to this ongoing payroll scam.
As they dug more and more into that payroll scam, they realized that the money that was being stolen was significant.
What was your reaction when you heard that?
I thought I then had my motive as to why this homicide occurred.
Police believe that unraveling the payroll fraud could lead them to Ryan's killer.
How did the scam actually work?
Through a ghost employee system, they would use people's social security numbers, put hours in, basically claiming that this employee worked there.
But in reality, none of these ghost employees actually worked for the company.
Essentially, they would keep fired employees on the books. We've got people that don't work there anymore, billing for hours that they're not there.
Then, the fake time cards were entered for payment.
There was no oversight from the main headquarters for the payroll.
And getting access to the money was simple, thanks to the company's use of preloaded debit cards instead of checks.
The cards were being used by the suspects in the payroll scam to cash out money.
What kind of money are we talking about here?
The estimate was close to $250,000 in about 6 months.
Detectives were now certain that distribution center as well.
I went back a second time and looked at the surveillance video.
Detective Raines already knew neither the chief nor the silver sedan had come in through the employee entrance that morning. But he now wondered if they might have used the delivery gate instead.
I knew my time frame, so I went and looked at the video of the entrance where the semi-trucks would come in. And I was able to see the silver sedan coming in about 8:19 in the morning.
Suddenly, the pieces of a complex investigation were falling into place. Detectives studied the clear images of the silver Jaguar carefully.
Had very unique stickers on the windshield, a sunroof, a vent type thing on the front quarter panel.
The unusual details were a match to the car seen at the meeting with the shooter.
I immediately recognized those specific things on that vehicle. From there, I was able to locate where the silver sedan was parked, get the license plate for it, which jump-started the investigation.
In fact, the plate number gave police the name of their first suspect.
Who actually owned the car?
The car was owned by a gentleman by the name of Jarrell Smith.
Police immediately did a deep dive into Smith's employee file.
What did you find out about Jarrell Smith?
Jarrell's position within the company is mid-management. He had enough authority to be involved in hiring and firing decisions.
He was also aware of the process for submitting weekly time cards. Smith's role seemed like a perfect fit for the payroll scheme, and the company's documents confirmed it.
We saw that Jarrell would keep employees on the books and put hours in that they would never work.
Police now had evidence that connected Smith to the shooter and the ongoing payroll scheme. But there was still nothing that linked him to Ryan Dillard.
Ryan had just started at the warehouse. He really was only at the warehouse for a week's time.
Was there ever any indication that Ryan actually knew about the payroll scheme?
But at the time of his murder, there was nothing in his training where he would have even noticed that or known about it.
Although detectives still couldn't fit all of the pieces together, they were locked in on Smith as a prime suspect in Ryan's murder.
How did you go about investigating Smith?
I used a couple techniques. I wrote for and received a search warrant to put a tracking device on Mr. Smith's Jaguar.
Detective Raines also got a search warrant for Jarrell Smith's cell phone.
I can get pings on his phone to show where he's going, who he's talking to, and that also was able to give me historical data.
And police hoped that somewhere in those records was the clue that would expose everyone involved in the deadly plot.
My goal is finding out who actually pulled the trigger that killed Ryan.
The investigation into the murder of Ryan Dillard was starting to heat up. And once again, surveillance video would move the investigation forward. This time, it was shots of the prime suspect, Jarrell Smith, at work in the moments leading up to the attack.
When you reviewed the footage from inside the distribution center, was there something now that seemed to be a critical detail?
Yes, the morning of the murder. I noticed Mr. Smith pacing outside of the office on his cell phone at about the same time that Ryan was leaving to go get breakfast.
What do you suspect was going on at that point?
He's using this phone call to alert the shooter that Ryan's leaving.
Detective Raines found evidence that strengthened that theory in Smith's cell phone records.
That phone call ended about 40 seconds before the shooting took place.
And cell tower data pinpointed where the man Smith had spoken with was located.
It actually showed the number number that Mr. Smith was calling was at the scene of the homicide.
And just as important was the cell phone number of the man that Smith had called. Police were now certain it belonged to the shooter.
Who did that cell phone number belong to?
A gentleman named Michael Poydras.
What did you end up discovering about Michael Poydras?
I was able to locate a driver's license for him at a particular address. That address was of his girlfriend, and I found out that she owned a silver Jeep Cherokee.
The SUV was a match to the one the shooter had fled in.
So I thought now I possibly had not only the name of my shooter, but also the vehicle that he was driving at the time of the murder.
Investigators were stunned. The once baffling plan was now coming into clear view with incredible speed.
At that point, did you have enough to arrest Poydras?
We had enough to bring him in for questioning, and when my fugitive unit actually observed him driving the Jeep Cherokee, we made the decision for them to stop him and take him into custody.
Police were fortunate that Michael Poydras' girlfriend was with him when they pulled him over.
They were both brought in and put in different interview rooms.
What happened once Poydras and his girlfriend were brought in for questioning?
His girlfriend provided some information that certainly corroborated what we were already thinking. She said he had the car on the morning of the murder.
And Poydras' girlfriend added more. She said that morning, Poydras was doing a job for his old boss, Jarrell Smith.
When you heard her say that was his old boss, did you now believe you had everything you needed to arrest Smith?
Not to arrest Smith. It confirmed that Smith had involvement in this, but I was still trying to put some pieces together. I definitely had enough to arrest and charge Poydras.
Investigators turned their attention to Poydras. They hoped he would confess and give them the remaining details they needed to expose the full plot.
Poydras denied being involved in the murder, but when we started confronting him with facts that were already known to us, he said, I think I need an attorney.
In the end, detectives wouldn't need Poydras' cooperation, just his cell phone.
How did his cell phone GPS data move the investigation forward?
It was really helpful because it basically showed just a series of dots that left from his girlfriend's house up to the location where they met prior to the murder. Showed him being up there by himself, and then it showed him going back to his house.
And there was more.
Through phone records, we see that Jarrell, after the shooting, goes down to Poydras' house and meets with him. So that put a connection between the two of them.
Police were now ready to arrest Jarrell Smith. But when detectives tracked his car, they discovered that their suspect had left town and was hiding out in his second home in Houston. Officers knocked on his front door with a warrant, but Smith refused to go quietly.
Smith fled on foot.
You can clearly see Smith jumping fences in the backyard, trying to get away from law enforcement.
The agency down there, they were prepared for that, and he was taken into custody pretty quickly.
A search of Smith's home revealed the fruit of the payroll fraud.
He was living a life of luxury. He had multiple gold watches lined up, very lavish clothing. There was a safe in his bedroom that had $30,000 in cash.
After the arrest, did he come clean with anything?
He basically admitted to being involved in the payroll scam, but he never would admit to being involved in the murder of Ryan.
Ultimately, geolocation data collected from Smith's cell phone gave police more than enough. In fact, it showed that the murder plot went deeper than they knew at one point.
I was able to show that 2 days before the murder, Jarrell Smith was driving around and was parked in front of Ryan Dillard's house. It brought back Melanie's story about the knock on the door.
He asked if he could use the phone.
As police pieced together all the GPS data, they realized that Smith wasn't alone. Brought Michael Poitras with him. The masked man who asked to use the phone was Ryan's killer.
He was the person who came to the door and knocked on it. I think if Ryan would have let Poitras into the house, that the murder would have happened that night, and Melanie would have probably been killed as well. The fact that Ryan did not let Poitras inside made them change the plan for the murder.
It was the final piece of the puzzle. Jarrell Smith's entire murderous plot and the motive behind it were now out in the open.
We went from having absolutely no clue as to why Ryan was killed to unraveling a massive scheme. Smith was truly the mastermind behind planning and setting up the murder of Ryan Dillard in hopes that this payroll scam would never be discovered and he could continue to live his life of luxury.
Just how depraved was it in your mind that these two men were willing to kill a man they didn't even know for sure was aware of the payroll scam?
I think it goes to his character and his mindset and the type of person he is. It's sickening to take an innocent man's life for money.
Ultimately, two juries saw the evidence the same way. In 2023, Michael Poitras got life without parole for being the trigger man. Then, a year later, Smith was convicted of both racketeering and first-degree murder. He, too, will spend the rest of his life behind bars. How satisfying was it to get convictions both on Smith and Poitras?
It was truly satisfying to myself and my partners to get those convictions. And it was heartfelt to be able to share those moments with Melanie.
For Ryan's widow, Melanie, sitting through all the court proceedings was almost impossible to endure. Each revelation from the callous plan and the ruthless attack only added to her burden. How painful was that to take in?
It was horrible. It was extremely violating to know that you're going on with your day as normal and you have no idea that any of this is going on in the background.
Did you deliver a victim impact statement?
I did. What I wanted to underscore is that an innocent man was killed. Somebody that was so much a part of me was taken away from me by pure greed.
When you look back at everything you've been through, where have you found the strength?
It's been hard. I'll tell you, there's some days I wake up that I'm just like, I just don't know if I can do this. When you lose your spouse, your partner, I can't describe the void that it leaves in your life. Everywhere I look, he's there in some way, shape, or form.
When did you start thinking that she had been kidnapped?
By the end of the first evening, we knew there was something really wrong.
Nobody had seen her. It was like she had vanished.
She was abducted on her way to school. How could this happen in our community?
It appeared to be a dead child in the water.
I went to the mortuary and identified her. They had to tell everyone at home. That was the hardest time of all.
I've thought about the terror that child went through. That's horrifying.
We went from a family that laughed and had fun to just this sadness.
There was a little girl that said that she'd seen Daryl in a vehicle traveling with a male adult.
The police officer spotted a car that fit the description.
He lived in the neighborhood. He would have had an opportunity to abduct her.
I personally am convinced that this gentleman committed the crimes that we've charged him with.
What did the depravity of her murder suggest to you?
He's a monster. He's a predator. He's been a predator his entire life.
4 o'clock on a chilly Wednesday afternoon, and Deanna Johnson was waiting for her daughters to get home from school. She was puzzled when Darcy walked through the front door without her older sister. Even 40 years later, it's a painful memory.
Do you remember how concerned your mother became?
Yes. My mom said, "Where's your sister?" I said, "I waited after school and she never came, so I thought she had something going on."
But her mother knew there was no reason Darylyn wasn't there.
When did you start to worry?
It just raised up a red flag. She should have been home without any question. So I got Darcy in the car and we went to the school.
Deanna hoped that someone at the school had a logical explanation, but their answers only made the situation worse. Darylyn never made it to school that day.
I spoke to her teacher, and she said she wasn't here, and I marked her absent. And I said, well, she left for school this morning.
It was suddenly clear something happened to the 9-year-old on the way to school.
I called the police, and the police was there right away.
For the Nampa police, it was a call to action. Young girls simply didn't disappear in their small town.
The police were very, very concerned. They were fearing that something was not right.
There was a feeling of being overwhelmed. There was a lot of canvassing in that neighborhood. There was a lot of door-to-door contact, just trying to find her and see if anybody had seen her.
But no one police spoke with crossed paths with Darylyn that morning.
It was like she had vanished.
Not even the girl she normally walked with to school. It turned out that Darylyn was in a rush and headed out by herself.
Why did Darylyn leave early for school?
She had a letter for a friend of hers. She was just anxious to get there and give her this letter.
Anxious enough to leave her 7-year-old sister Darcy behind.
I wasn't quite ready yet, and she was super excited to get to school, so Darylyn left alone.
Back then, was it routine for young children to walk to school on their own without their parents?
Yes, the school was built right in the middle of several neighborhoods, and everybody would walk to school. People would not lock their doors at night.
The school was less than 6 blocks away from the Johnsons' home.
There were just slews of children walking to school. I never thought that there'd ever be anything that wouldn't be right.
In fact, no one at the school ever considered that possibility either.
Why didn't the school call her parents when she didn't show up at school?
That wasn't their policy at the time. This case actually changed the way the school district conducted business.
The community was in a panic by the time Darylyn's father, Dennis, got home from work.
My wife called me and said that Darylyn had not come home from school. And it was just opposite to what she would normally do. She was always very dependable.
By nightfall, the search for the 3rd grader was an all-hands-on-deck operation.
There was a massive search. They were looking at abandoned buildings, fields, any place that they could possibly look. A lot of police officers, even when they were off the clock, volunteered the time and worked through the night looking just nonstop.
The community turned out like you wouldn't believe. There was a major company that provided a helicopter. There was a lot of help and outpouring of love for someone that they didn't even know.
Still, there was no sign of Darylyn. When did you start thinking there was a possibility that she had been kidnapped?
By the end of the first evening, we were actually waiting to get some kind of call for ransom.
Police had no leads until the next morning when they got one from an unlikely source.
There was a little girl that had came forward that said that she'd actually seen Darylyn in a vehicle traveling out of the neighborhood with a male adult.
The car was heading south and went down a busier street.
The child said the car was mostly red with areas of missing paint. She said it also had splotches of white along its hood, side, and back.
Back in 1982, there were a lot of vehicles like that. They were in the process of being repaired.
Did the young girl recognize the man driving the car?
She did not. She had no idea who it was.
Did she happen to say if Darylyn was trying to get out of the car?
She did not see any struggles. She didn't see anything going on inside the car.
The tip was disturbing. Police were now in a race against time to find the driver of that car.
This was reported on the news. It was front page. Everybody was getting involved. There was community groups, police departments, volunteers, and the parents trying to do everything they could to try to find Darylyn.
The sense of desperation in the air was growing by the minute, fueled by a single terrifying thought. Each hour that passed without locating Darylyn might be her last. Darylyn Johnson's disappearance had sent shockwaves through the small city of Nampa, Idaho. And the frantic search to find her ended in tragedy 3 days after the 9-year-old went missing. How did the search for Darylyn finally end?
Well, it was 3 days later. Some fishermen were down at the Snake River, and one of the boys wanted to cross that spring, and he happened to see her body in the water.
He came across a little girl, and he panicked, had to go find someone to get help.
The boy's father confirmed his grisly discovery, and he called police. What did they describe seeing?
A dead child in the water. She had a t-shirt on and a pair of pants in her shoes. Law enforcement responded and then worked the crime scene.
When police arrived, they quickly confirmed the body was Darylyn Johnson.
She was in the water. Her body had been covered up with some brush.
Was it obvious how she was killed?
It wasn't obvious, but there was some speculation that she had probably been sexually assaulted based upon some blood that was on her pants and her underwear.
Even for veteran investigators, the details of the 9-year-old's murder were difficult to absorb. What did the depravity of her murder suggest to you?
I thought about the terror that child went through, the fear that she must have felt. I don't understand the mentality of a person that can inflict that kind of pain on any child.
Darylyn's lifeless body was gently brought to the water's edge and then transported to the coroner's office. Police now had to inform her loved ones that the search was over. For Darylyn's father, the call from police was shattering. Where did you find the strength to deal with the tragic news?
It was very, very hard. My father and I went to the mortuary and identified her, and that was really a hard situation. Then we had to come home and tell everyone, and that was probably the hardest time of all.
It was a life-altering experience for Darylyn's sister Darcy, who was just 7 years old at the time.
I can remember my dad coming home and they told me that she wasn't coming back. And I didn't understand that. I just didn't understand any of it.
Darylyn was popular, friendly, and loved by everyone. It was almost impossible to accept that she was gone.
She was a really happy child. She looked forward to going to school every day and meeting with her friends and being a part of what everybody was doing. She was kind of like a mother to other children.
She loved her sister. She would always be trying to teach her. She liked to help me with anything that I was doing.
She was a very good big sister. She was very kind and patient and fun.
Her family believed that one day, Darylyn would have achieved her goal of being a teacher, and perhaps even have a family of her own. But now, those dreams were over. The pain her loved ones suffered was a motivator for investigators, and they hoped the young girl's autopsy might provide them with a clue that would lead to her killer. Could they determine how she was killed?
Darylyn had sustained some blunt force trauma to the upper left portion of her head, and she had been sexually assaulted, but it was determined that she died from drowning.
Could you get any sense how long after the abduction that Darylyn was killed?
The pathologist believed that it happened sometime on the day that she went missing because she had digested food.
Walk me through the evidence that was collected.
They took photographs, and then there were some hairs that were collected during the autopsy.
There was a hair from her sock, and there was also 4 hairs collected from her underwear.
There really wasn't a whole lot of evidence.
And police found little more in the area where Darylyn's body was discovered.
The other physical evidence was a shoe print that was found at the scene.
There was some waffle-style shoe prints that were at the location that they had documented.
The lack of evidence was troubling for investigators. The only thing that seemed clear was that the killer was a local, someone who knew the routes kids walked to school, and someone who was familiar with the remote area along the river. And that revelation only added to the pressure police were under. How did the community react to Darylyn's murder?
They wanted to find out what happened and to make sure that the streets are safe again. She was abducted on her way to school. What about my children? Are my kids safe? Can my kids go to school? How could this have possibly happened in our community?
And detectives knew there was only one way to answer those questions. They had to find Darylyn's killer, and fast. The Canyon County Sheriff's Office had spent months searching for a solid lead in the Darylyn Johnson murder, when they finally caught a break. How did police identify their first suspect?
There was a police officer that spotted a car that fit the description that was given by the little girl.
It had some Bondo for repairs. It was in pretty poor shape.
And the location of the car raised more suspicions. It was parked just steps from Darylyn's home. Investigators ran the plates and discovered the car was owned by 34-year-old Charles Fain.
He lived on the route that Darylyn would have been going to school. He was a potential suspect.
With little else to go on, the Vietnam veteran was brought in for questioning. What happened once he was brought in for an interview?
Charles was cooperative. His attitude was that he wanted to help.
Charles Fain told police he had heard about the robbery, but was confused as to why he was being viewed as a suspect.
Charles insisted that he was outside of the state of Idaho, that he was actually in Oregon visiting his parents.
Were investigators able to verify his alibi?
Yes, they were able to confirm that Charles was visiting his parents.
The interview was brief, and police couldn't find anything concrete to link Fain to Darylyn's murder. Did they search his car?
There was an extensive search done of his car. There was rope in the trunk, but there was nothing to definitively say that Darylyn was in that car.
Still, before police released Fain, they asked if he would provide them with biological samples for testing.
The thought was, let's get hair samples and then send those off to the FBI, and let's see if a comparison can be made.
What kind of comparisons was the FBI trying to make?
This would have just been using a comparison microscope and looking at the sample from the suspect versus the hair that was collected at the scene.
The results were stunning.
The FBI identified the hair as being at the crime scene.
There was distinctive patterns which suggested that this is unique.
The findings shifted the investigation into high gear. Charles Fain was now the prime suspect in Darylyn Johnson's murder. Detectives quickly obtained a search warrant for his home and property, and what they found only deepened their suspicions.
There was a shoe print that was found at the scene. An FBI examiner compared the shoe print to a pair of work shoes.
Experts determined the waffle sole and size to be a match. Investigators also took a closer look at Fain's alibi and discovered it had critical holes.
Was it possible for him to have been in Oregon, drive 6 hours to Idaho, commit the murder, and get back to Oregon?
The investigators believed that it was possible that he could have been in Idaho for a period of time.
Police were confident that the hair evidence, the shattered alibi, and Fain's proximity to the crime scene were enough to make an arrest. Darylyn's loved ones agreed.
Did they share what they had against Charles Fain with you?
Yes, they did.
Were you convinced that Charles Fain had been responsible?
With what they had, yes. We felt that Charles was the person that had kidnapped him.
And the case against Fain continued to get stronger while he was behind bars awaiting trial. 2 fellow inmates came forward telling prosecutors he had been bragging to them.
A couple of his cellmates that came forward and said that he had actually confessed to them and drew a map where Daryl's body was. And then when that conversation was over, he had crumpled the map up and thrown it into the toilet. One of those cellmates had retrieved that map, and that's what they brought forth to law enforcement.
Investigators believed only Darylyn's killer could have drawn that map.
The map was fairly accurate. That was certainly information that not everybody would have known.
If found guilty, Fain would get the death penalty.
They believed they had the right person. There was nothing to sway them that would cause them to think differently.
But the long journey to justice was just beginning, and the twists and turns ahead were about to shock everyone on the case. The trial of Charles Charles Fain commanded the attention of the entire community. He stood accused of brutally murdering a beloved 9-year-old girl.
I personally am convinced that this gentleman committed the crimes that we charged him with.
Prosecutors claim Fain had placed himself at the crime scene.
Charles Fain had drawn out where this crime had occurred.
And the FBI hair analysis sealed the case.
During the trial, the prosecutor actually did say that these hairs match.
In the end, the jury believed their account. Charles Fain was found guilty and sentenced to death. For Daryl and's family, it seemed that justice was done.
They had gone through all the steps it took to develop the evidence, quite a bit of evidence. Charles was the perpetrator.
But there was still one person who was convinced the court and the jurors had gotten it wrong. Charles Fain. The Vietnam veteran believed that everything that happened from the beginning was a whirlwind of bad breaks. Did you have any idea why investigators were focusing on you?
No. The only reason they wanted to talk to me is because I had a car that had been crime-ridden. I did some body work on it.
Charles had always maintained neither he nor his car were in Idaho the morning Darylyn went missing. But police dismissed that alibi with the crime scene evidence.
They said it was my hair. Obviously, I didn't have a clue what was going on. It's just unbelievable.
Following his arrest, Charles had compounded his problems by trusting his cellmates. Why did you draw a diagram of the crime scene?
I have no idea. It was a dumb thing to do. I was talking to the wrong person.
Charles told anyone who would listen that the map was based on what he had read in the newspaper, not insider's knowledge, and his cellmates had conned him into drawing it.
When you're in there, something you didn't do, you want somebody to believe you. I never again talk to another inmate about my case. They'll use it against you.
But it seemed like it was already too late.
I feel like jumping up and screaming. The lawyer told you to sit there and be calm.
Charles was sitting on death row, awaiting an execution date, when someone finally began taking his story seriously. Lawyers from the Innocence Project believed that prosecutors had overstated critical evidence to the jury. In particular, that there was no scientific proof that Charles' hair was a match to the ones found on Daryl.
Some of the evidence that was used against Charles was what we call junk science. An FBI expert examined hairs on the victim and said it could not be excluded.
In other words, FBI analysis only proved that the hairs found on Darylyn were similar to the samples taken from Charles.
Now, is that beyond a reasonable doubt? I don't think so.
Charles' lawyers believed that his conviction was a miscarriage of justice from start to finish.
To me, it seemed like a rush to judgment.
While Fain's attorneys desperately tried to build their case for a new trial, time was a deadly enemy.
He was on death row. He went through a very tough time.
As the years turned into a decade, Charles slowly came to peace with his fate.
I can't really explain how it developed. It just happened after a period of time. I just accepted the situation. I just adjusted to it.
Charles said that adjustment was made possible by a higher power than the law.
I started reading my Bible every day. And that's what got me through. I decided I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to turn this positive. And that's what I did.
Even 4 days before pending death sentence, Charles displayed the courage of a righteous man.
I always felt like I'm never going to get executed. Something just kept telling me you're not going to die.
That feeling grew stronger each time an the evidence they needed to overturn his conviction.
It was the defense's request that those hairs be sent to Bowden Technologies to have mitochondrial DNA testing done.
Through a process of extracting mitochondrial DNA from those hairs and comparing that to Charles Payne's blood, it was determined that Charles Payne was not the contributor of those hairs.
The results were stunning to everyone but Charles Fane. The DNA had exonerated him. His prayers been answered.
As far as I'm concerned, that's God's fingerprint.
In August of 2001, a judge overturned Charles Fane's conviction.
I knew it was going to happen. I always knew it.
Perhaps the most incredible aspect of Charles Fane's story is his lack of bitterness over the years that were stolen from him. How do you explain it to people?
My Lord Jesus Christ.
He's a good man. He was ridiculously wrong. He's a hero, a rare hero.
But not everyone saw it that way. Charles Fane's release was a crushing blow for Darylyn's loved ones. What was your reaction to his being set free?
It was hard at first because we didn't understand all the forensic evidence, but he was absolutely eliminated as the person that done the kidnapping and killed our daughter.
At first, I wasn't happy, you know. I really believed it was him. I had said that I believed in the death penalty, and I did. I thought that's how it should end.
The Johnsons weren't the only ones who were frustrated. A new team of detectives had to start the case over from scratch. Would their new investigation finally bring Darylyn's killer to justice? Following the release of wrongly convicted Charles Fane, many believed that justice for Darylyn Johnson was a long shot. Close to 20 years had passed with the wrong man behind bars.
After Charles Fane was exonerated, did you begin to believe that no one would ever face justice for your sister's murder?
Yes, I was horrified. It was hard to believe that it wasn't him.
But over time, the Johnsons' feelings changed. They slowly began to understand that Charles Fane was the crime's second victim, a realization that led Deanna to send Charles a life-altering letter. What did she write to you?
Mr. Fane, I just wanted to tell you how sorry we are for the time taken from you. This has made me rethink my belief in the death penalty, as well as my own shortcomings in judgment and compassion. May the rest of your life be filled with joy and goodness. Sincerely, Deanna and Dennis Johnson.
How did that letter make you feel?
It's hard not. It's amazing. That's all. It's just amazing. I love those people now. I'm glad I forgave and forgave everybody else.
But Charles also knew in his heart that he would never feel truly free until Darylyn's real killer was caught. More than a decade after his release, it seemed as though that might never happen. Then, a headline-making case in the Bay Area changed everything.
What advances in DNA science ultimately jump-started the investigation?
So, the Golden State Killer case was the first time that genetic genealogy was performed.
The groundbreaking DNA science offered new hope to cold case teams across the country. Investigators on Darylyn Johnson's murder contacted those experts to see if their hair evidence could be used for genealogy.
Donia Ballard reached out to find out, could this be done? She was told that there was a scientist, Dr. Ed Green, who is a world-renowned expert. He was given all the hairs that we had in this case and asked to examine that hair.
Investigators knew the odds were against them. They prayed for a miracle.
He was able to get DNA from a hair that a lot of scientists believe could never be done.
Help me understand the significance of that breakthrough.
The breakthrough is just absolutely profound. Taking such degraded or small sample size and able to get this whole genome sequencing, that was a very, very difficult task.
Those results meant that investigators on the Darylyn Johnson case could use forensic genealogy to track her killer. A massive family tree of the hair's donor was created and then whittled down branch by branch until just one name remained.
What did the testing reveal?
The testing revealed that we had a match to David Dalrymple.
Police were stunned. David Dalrymple was never mentioned in the massive case file. But some old-fashioned detective work quickly proved they were on the right track.
What was Dalrymple's criminal history?
He actually was serving a 20 to life sentence on a rape case involving a little girl who was similar in age as Darylyn.
The attack took place 22 years after Darylyn's murder.
How was Dalrymple overlooked during the original investigation?
Dalrymple was living a life where he was hidden in plain sight. He was residing with his sister, and there was really nobody knew who he was. He very easily just floated under the radar.
How close did Dalrymple live to Darylyn's family?
He lived just 2 blocks to the northwest from their house.
Would you have described Dalrymple as having been a phantom in the neighborhood?
He is a person who can keep a low profile, who can be that phantom. He's here and he's not here. He doesn't have any ties here. I don't pay rent. I don't pay electricity. You can disappear in that respect. You can have anonymity.
And it now appeared Darylyn had simply unknowingly walked into his deadly trap. Police asked her younger sister Darcy to create a map of every potential route the 9-year-old might have used to walk to school, including any shortcuts.
I gave her a marker, and she started drawing. And as she began drawing, the marker went right across where David Dalrymple's house was at. That was something that was dramatic. It was chilling.
The map was the final piece of the puzzle. Police were now certain they had found Darylyn's killer.
I've narrowed him down as being the sole suspect for this case.
When Detective Mark Taylor visited Dalrymple in prison, he hoped to take advantage of any lingering guilt his suspect may have felt.
I had planned an interview with him for the date of Darylyn's abduction and homicide. I went out to the prison and staged a room so that I could meet with him. I built a photo album. The last photo in that photo album was a picture of Darylyn laying in that creek.
Detective Taylor carefully watched Dalrymple as he entered the room.
What was his reaction?
He just sat there and looked at it and then said the words, "fully clothed." And that was it.
What was that supposed to mean?
I could not tell you. It was a very bizarre comment. From my perspective, any person would be thinking that's absolutely terrible. That's horrifying. But that wasn't the reaction that I got. It's a child laying there dead. The length of time that he sat there and looked at that photo, it was almost like it was taking him back in time.
But to the point where he showed any remorse?
No,
no conscience, Detective Taylor switched gears and confronted him with the facts.
At that point, I asked him why there would be any reason that his hairs would be in Darylyn's underwear. And of course, he called me crazy, but I knew, based upon the reactions in the interview, that I had the right person.
Dalrymple's denial only strengthened the case against him. There was now only one explanation for his DNA being found at the crime scene.
Based on everything you know about the case, what do you think happened to Darylyn that morning?
I believe that David abducted her with the intentions to sexually assault her. Because of the close proximity of where he lived, he could be identified if she lived, and I think that he had to eliminate her.
How would you characterize David Dalrymple?
He's a monster. He's a predator. He's probably been a predator his entire life.
In June of 2024, Dalrymple stood trial for the savage crime, and the overwhelming evidence led jurors to a quick verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. Charles Fane spoke to the court at sentencing. His statement was full of grace.
I said I forgive him. And I said to the Johnson family, they needed to find a way to forgive. Not for his benefit, but for their own. So I hope they find a way to do it.
But perhaps that might be easier knowing that Dalrymple will die in prison. The judge sentenced him to 2 consecutive life terms. For the Johnsons, the verdict was the end of a long, pain-filled journey, where the only comfort is finally knowing the right man is behind bars.
What has David Dalrymple taken away from your family?
We went from a family that talked and laughed, had fun, to a family that was pretty much just polar opposite. There was this sadness.
But now there's hope for a brighter future.
I think about her every single day. I try to imagine what she would be like today. I wonder if we would be a couple of old grandmas taking all the kids to the movies.
We've talked many times about the kind of kid she was. She was a really easy kid to raise.
Can you even imagine her father walking into that nightmare?
The horror of finding your child half naked, bound with duct tape. I can't imagine.
I've encountered a lot of horrific homicide scenes, but this one stuck with me.
He told me that Deb was dead. I ran through the house just screaming, no, 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 no. It can't be true.
She was murdered in such a brutal, horrific way. Sent shockwaves through the community. How did this happen? And who's next? Debbie was looking for a roommate. Investigators found a list of people interested in the apartment.
One of which was a registered sex offender.
This lead was hot, and so we had to follow it.
There was no way you ever were going to give up, was there?
We hit some dead ends, but either you go over it, you go under it, or you go through it. We were not going to give up.
It was close to 9 on a hot Thursday morning, and Peter Dorian was in a full sweat worrying about his daughter Debbie. The responsible 22-year-old was already 2 hours late.
Debbie's father had arranged a trip to Sacramento to look at graduate schools. She was supposed to be at his house at 7 a.m.
When she didn't show up at her father's residence, of course he became concerned. So he began to telephone her and received no answer.
He thought it was unusual because her answering machine didn't pick up.
Peter tried some friends and became even more when he found out that she had missed work the night before.
She worked part-time as a waitress. Peter spoke with the management there. They told Peter she hadn't shown up for 2 days, and that was totally unusual for her. Now he became totally alarmed.
Peter was convinced something was very wrong. He raced to the apartment complex where she lived to check on her.
He walked up the stairs to her apartment, and he tried the door, and the door was unlocked. Debbie was very conscious about safety.
Peter now feared the worst.
The TV was on, and he didn't see Debbie anywhere.
He called her name, she didn't answer, went into the bedroom, and that's where he found her. On the floor, sprawled out, half naked.
It was obvious his daughter was dead. Her head was wrapped in duct tape.
Can you even imagine her father walking into that nightmare?
I can't imagine.
Debbie's father covered his daughter's body and contacted police. While he waited for law enforcement to arrive, he called Debbie's mother.
Who broke the news to you that something might have happened to your daughter?
Peter told me that Deb was dead. And I ran through the house just screaming, no, 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 no. It can't be true.
Minutes later, Detective Mike Garcia arrived. Almost 30 years later, he can still remember the horrific scene inside Debbie's bedroom.
Describe to me what you saw.
She had duct tape around her head from below her chin to her forehead. Her hands were duct taped behind her back, and her ankles were duct taped together.
She was nude from the waist down, the position that her body was in, the way she was laying, the lack of clothing. All of that indicated a sexual assault.
For lead investigator Mike Garcia, every crime scene is tragic, but this case was personal. Peter Dorian was a friend.
You knew the victim's father. How did you process that?
Well, worried for him. He was obviously very distressed, emotional about finding his daughter. And the fact that I knew him made it even more difficult.
Still, Detective Garcia knew that he had to keep his own emotions under control, while officers took Debbie's father downstairs to get a statement. Detective Garcia back to work processing the scene.
Did you explore the possibility that this could be a robbery gone wrong?
No, there were no signs of forcing. None of the doors or anything were opened up. Nothing appeared to be really out of place.
Did you see any signs of a struggle?
She had a bruise on the side of her head, which indicated she could have been hit by something. And there were a couple of things that looked like they had been moved, but as far as a big struggle inside, nothing looked like that.
What evidence was collected?
We collected the clothing that she had on, some clothing on the floor, bed sheets, carpet samples.
Detectives widened their search and found more clues outside the bedroom.
There were some items that were collected in the front room, a sandwich that was partially eaten, a list of names and phone numbers that was on a little notepad. And we took her answering machine that had messages on it.
No one had seen nor heard from Debbie since Monday, August 19th. But a receipt on the table indicated that she had been alive on the morning of the 20th.
We found out that she'd gone to the supermarket to buy groceries on August the 20th, 1996.
Debbie then missed her waitress shift later that same day. Those clues helped investigators conclude that the attack had taken place around lunchtime on Tuesday the 20th.
When you see the sandwich, the chips, and Kool-Aid that established the time frame, we felt that that's when the horrific attack occurred.
Other evidence told them more of the story. The lack of forced entry and the unlocked front door led police to theorize that Debbie had opened the door to her killer. Officers went door to door, hoping to find a witness. What came out of your neighborhood canvass?
Uniformed officers did a canvass of the complex. We didn't find anybody that heard or saw anything.
Although no one saw anything related to the crime, one resident remembered seeing a white male in his 20s near Debbie's front door on Tuesday. How did he describe the man's behavior? Was he lurking around?
He actually heard Debbie say, "Oh, hi." The neighbor didn't see the man go into her apartment because he was on a kind of a different angle.
Did the witness provide any description of the man he had seen?
Yes, he did. Approximately 5'8", 5'9", about 180 pounds. He said he was well-dressed, clean, brown hair. It was a very kind of general description.
Although his description was vague, the witness was certain about when the encounter had happened. It had been just after noon on Tuesday, August the 20th. Police were stunned, but their direction was now clear. The search for Debbie Dorian's killer would start with a hard look at the men in her life. While investigators were scrambling to find a clue that might lead them to Debbie Dorian's killer, her loved ones were struggling to come to terms with their paralyzing grief. Debbie had been the center of their world. What was Debbie like growing up?
She was a very energetic child. She loved her horses, played the piano. She was in the band.
Where was Debbie at that time of her life? Was she in a good place?
Oh, yes. She was getting ready to go off to do her master's degree. So, yeah, she was in a very good place.
She was just a typical Fresno girl, doing exactly what she should have been doing.
Since graduating college, Debbie had been living on her own and was working as a waitress to save money for graduate school. Was she always an independent young woman?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A very free spirit, wonderful person, and she was just the life of the party everywhere she went.
Debbie had a wide circle of friends who were now under law enforcement's microscope for the worst possible reason. Police believed that Debbie had welcomed her killer into her home. Was this the type of case where you started with those closest to Debbie and worked your way out?
100%. Boyfriend, close friends and associates. Absolutely.
And that task wouldn't be easy. Debbie's autopsy confirmed that the 22-year-old had been slowly suffocated with duct tape during a violent, sexually motivated attack. Police were forced to wonder if Debbie's boyfriend was capable of that level of cruelty. Were they having any issues in the relationship?
None that we were able to find. We talked to a lot of her friends, and she never mentioned anything to any of them of having any kind of difficulties with the boyfriend.
Debbie's family agreed. How would you characterize their relationship?
It was very good, very loving.
Was she thinking about maybe long-term commitment with her boyfriend?
They hadn't brought up marriage to us, but we kind of thought that they would. he loved her very much.
Still, detectives had to ask the young firefighter tough questions. And his answers helped police begin the process of eliminating him as a suspect.
He gave his alibi as working at the forest fires that were occurring in Northern California at the time. We checked him out and we were able to contact his supervisor, and we were able to determine that he was actually at the fire scene.
Were there any red flags?
There were no red flags.
Despite his airtight alibi, investigators still took a sample of his blood for comparison testing. It was not a match to the biological evidence recovered at autopsy. Were you able to rule him out on the basis of that?
Yes.
He was 100% cleared.
But the difficult interview with Debbie's boyfriend did expose a critical new detail. It turned out that Debbie had been actively searching for a new roommate.
Her roommate had moved out, so she had put ads in the Fresno Bee. She had posted at local churches trying to find a roommate.
The information added significance to the notepad police had recovered at the crime scene.
Investigators found a list on her kitchen table. It appeared to be names and phone numbers of people interested in the apartment.
And it also gave police a different view of the witness's account. They now wondered if the man he had seen at Debbie's front door could have been responding to her ad for a roommate.
We don't know if that was the reason why the suspect was there, but the victim allowed the person into her apartment.
And that made the group of phone numbers police found a high priority lead.
Anybody whose name or phone number that we had on the phone list or on the answering machine, all those people were contacted.
And the new direction brought increased urgency to the investigation. It now seemed plausible the attack wasn't personal. The killer may have used Debbie's roommate search as a ploy to catch her off guard. And that meant it might just be a matter of time before the next vulnerable young woman was victimized. Fresno police were carefully sifting through the records of Debbie Dorian's potential roommates, looking for a clue that might lead them to her killer. How many people contacted Debbie about her ad?
There were 6 or 7 names on the phone list, and then there were several that were on the answering machine that we were able to contact, at least 10 or 11.
And their hard work appeared to pay off. Why did one of those potential roommates' names end up at the top of your list?
We found an agreement between the two of them to actually rent the apartment.
And there was more. The building manager told investigators the man had actually visited the apartment complex on the day of the murder.
He went to the manager's office to try to find out if they knew anything about him renting the room.
He was insistent that he was renting a room from Debbie and that he had paid her a deposit.
The story placed the young man at the crime scene at a critical time. Investigators quickly tracked him down for questioning. Did he admit to being at her apartment on the day she had been murdered?
Yes, he did, according to him. He went upstairs, but no one responded when he was knocking. So he goes back down, talked to the apartment management, tried to get more information.
The young man told police he had arranged to meet Debbie to pick up a key to the apartment that afternoon. And He said he became frustrated when he heard the TV blaring, but she never came to the door.
He actually thought that she was ignoring him and basically stealing his money.
The young man stated that after talking with the manager, he left.
He admitted that he had been to meet with the victim, but he denied having anything to do with the homicide.
Still, investigator Michael Garcia says there were things his suspect wasn't telling him. Did you believe him?
No, he was deceptive. He wouldn't give us direct answers to his past. It's kind of hard to believe someone when they do stuff like that.
Police did some digging and quickly found out why the young man was reluctant to discuss his background. Did he have a criminal history?
Yes, he was a registered sex offender. He had been involved in some sexual assaults.
That discovery was a major red flag, and the tone of the interrogation then changed. Detectives aggressively asked the young man to provide a blood sample for comparison testing to the crime scene evidence. The results were not what they expected.
We were able to get a DNA sample from him. It came back with no match at all.
Even though the young man was not a match to the evidence, investigators weren't ready to clear him of being involved in the murder. During his interview, he had mentioned that he wasn't alone. He said he had been driven to the complex by a friend named Maurice. Why did you then shift your attention to him?
At that time, we thought that there was a big possibility that two of them had assaulted her.
There were two men who were reported by the management of the apartment complex as asking about Debbie's apartment. He had come with a friend from work.
Detective Garcia knew that if both men had participated in the attack, it was possible that only one had left DNA behind. And that theory gained traction as investigators began to question him. Several aspects of the story seemed off. In particular, the 28-year-old's claim that he had never entered the building.
I didn't believe that they had not been into the apartment. I think that they actually went inside. The door was found unlocked.
In fact, Maurice's demeanor throughout the interview troubled police. He, too, seemed to know more than he was saying. And then he said something that changed everything. What is it that Maurice told you that sent shivers down your spine?
He said that we would find duct tape at his home.
Police were stunned. They wondered what prompted police to bring up duct tape. There had been no mention of how Debbie had been found, nor the cause of her death. Detective Garcia immediately got a search warrant for his home.
Officers went to the location where he lived. They obviously found duct tape.
Was that duct tape similar to what had been found at the crime scene?
Yes, it was silver.
Police desperately tried to prove it was the same tape used to kill Debbie.
They tried to match the duct tape ends, but nothing ever came of that.
But there was still other incriminating evidence that could be tested. Detectives obtained a sample of blood from Maurice to compare to the crime scene evidence.
A sample sent to the Department of Justice that they analyzed matched the samples that were taken from Debbie and from the crime scene.
That testing could not exclude Maurice as being the contributor of the DNA that was found on Debbie's body.
Police believed they now had the physical evidence they needed to seal the case.
We met with the district attorney's office, and it was determined to make an arrest on Maurice Dixon. He was booked into the Fresno County Jail.
The investigation was moving at warp speed. But just when it appeared the Debbie Dorian murder investigation had been closed, the case hit a roadblock no one could have expected. Fresno police were confident they filed a solid circumstantial case against Maurice Dixon, and they believed the crime lab's testing gave them the physical evidence that proved he murdered Debbie Dorian. What did the testing actually reveal?
We had been doing DNA for just a few years, so at the time, the method that was used in the laboratory, it cannot exclude Maurice Dixon.
Because they could not exclude him, they believed that he was the perpetrator.
But before prosecutors took the case to trial, they asked the lab to perform a more advanced form of DNA testing, one they hope would greatly strengthen the initial findings. The results were shocking.
That lab was able to exclude him as the contributor to the DNA found on Debbie's body.
What was your reaction when a more sophisticated DNA test proved that the wrong man had been arrested?
I was very disappointed. The sample did not match.
Is that how he was ultimately cleared?
Yes.
After spending 2 weeks in jail, all charges against Maurice Dixon were dropped. No one in law enforcement ever wants that to happen. But isn't that just a reflection of where the science was at the time?
It absolutely is. You have scientific evidence that appears to include him. They believe that they had the right person. Ultimately, thankfully, Maurice was cleared and released from jail.
Maurice maintains the other key evidence against him was also an error. He said he only mentioned the duct tape in his apartment because a detective had talked about it prior to his interview. The mistaken arrest was a major setback for the investigation. How embarrassed were you by this arrest of an innocent man?
I was not embarrassed because the fact is that when we got the results of the initial DNA testing, we met with the district attorney's office that was decided as a group to make the arrest.
But Detective Garcia was alone for the difficult next step. Did you break the news to Debbie's father that Maurice Dixon was not responsible?
Yes, I had to tell him that Maurice was being released.
How hard was that for you to have to admit to him that the wrong man had been arrested?
It was pretty hard because I knew that Peter was having a hard time accepting it, obviously. Sarah, well, they were both upset about it, but they understood.
Still, both of Debbie's parents were heartbroken. The detectives were back at square one. And it became even more painful as they watched the investigation slowly grind to a halt. Months passed, and then years with no progress.
When a case goes cold for as long as Debbie Dorian's case went cold, the public forgets it, but the people who worked the case inside the Fresno Police Department never forgot her. Debbie just tugged at people's heartstrings. No one ever gave up.
Detective Vincent Zavala became a living symbol of that relentless effort. He worked countless hours on the case, even when he was off the clock.
I was with the Department of Justice at the time, and I took it over completely.
During the course of this investigation, the bond between Detective Zavala and Debbie's loved ones grew.
Years ago, I had talked to him about going through all the way to the end. I said, you can't retire until we find Deb's murder. He says, I won't.
You get some dead ends, but either you go over it, you go under it, or you go through it. You were not going to give up.
Detective Zavala was confident that science would ultimately expose the man who killed Debbie Dorian. But his patience was tested.
The DNA recovered from Debbie Dorian's crime scene is routinely run through the DNA national database and then pin no hits.
Then, 6 years after the murder, the database finally gave police a new lead. The new evidence was from an unsolved sexual assault case in the neighboring city of Visalia.
POTUS can connect DNA profiles from other cases, and there was one Visalia case where they found DNA evidence, and the DNA profile from that case hit on Debbie's case.
There was a case-to-case DNA hit. We still don't know who did it, but we know that DNA hit implicated him in the murder of Debbie Dorian. Once the connection was made, I went down to Visalia and met a young detective named Jason Salazar. Jason was in charge of the case.
The detectives looked for links between the crimes and quickly found them. Both cases involved young, vulnerable women who had been overwhelmed by their attacker.
Here in Visalia, there was a 19-year-old victim. She was riding her bike and she was approached by a male who brandished a firearm, and he told her not to make a sound or that he would shoot her.
The man then forced the teenager into a dark area off the side of the road where he sexually assaulted her. Could she see her attacker's face?
He was wearing a bandana over his face, but she was able to describe him as a white male in his 30s, medium build, about 5'6" or so.
After the attack, the man fled. The young woman went to police, who recovered DNA evidence at the crime scene. Did you think the attack could have been the work of a sexual predator?
We weren't sure, but then we had a number of other cases that occurred within a few months. The MO in each of the cases had similarities. The description of the suspect was similar to what us to believe we had the sexual predator that was committing the crime.
Despite the threat of the handgun, all of the victims in the Visalia cases survived. Still, detectives Zavala that solving the sex crimes would bring Debbie's killer to justice. How did that accelerate your investigation?
It gave us hope. It gave us now leads in Visalia that we could follow up on. We looked at all their cases. Now we had kind of more people to interview, and that's what we did.
Once again, their suspect proved elusive. In each crime, he had hidden his face and then vanished into the night unseen. But his days of remaining one step ahead of the law were about to come to an end. More than 20 years after the murder of Debbie Dorian, the case was at a standstill. For her family and friends, the decades of speculation and near misses without justice only added to the grief. What got you through all these years where the case wasn't advancing?
My faith. You have to trust that God is there, that He's going to be with you through this, and that's what gets you through.
During those challenging times, the Dorians also took comfort from their relationship with Detective Vincent Zavala. They knew that finding Debbie's killer had become a personal mission for him.
I was disappointed, but I truly believed it was a calling. And that's the reason it stuck with me.
Investigators' desire to solve the case continued to grow. They were painfully aware that Debbie's killer was still out there hurting other young women in the area. But despite their countless hours of tireless hard work, nothing they did brought them closer to a suspect. That is, until a scientific advance in the Bay Area's most notorious serial murder investigation gave detectives a new direction.
A thought came to my mind: Golden State Killer. They used genetic genealogy to track this guy down. So I thought, why can't we do that?
Genealogical DNA. That was the next step and kind of a last-ditch effort.
The technique was brand new and complicated, but the foremost experts in the field agreed to analyze the DNA in the Dorian murder. Their painstaking work helped create a family tree of Debbie's killer, and the final branch pointed to a single prime suspect. Genealogy led law enforcement to one name. Who was he?
Nikki Stain.
Investigators were puzzled. The name was nowhere in the massive case file, and on the surface, it appeared the new lead might have targeted the wrong suspect.
He didn't have anything in his criminal history. He had 2 adult children. He had a house in Visalia. He seemed fairly normal.
But police dug deeper and quickly realized Nikki Stain was living a double life.
They did a search of his house, and what they found was a completely different story.
What was the story that emerged?
He was a sexual predator addicted to sex. His house had videotapes of himself having sex with women. Many, many, many tapes. Pornography. There was a camera in his bathroom where he was watching.
He was a person who definitely had very perverted sexual desires and fantasies.
But none of that evidence tied Stain to a crime. Detectives confronted him and informed Stain there was DNA evidence that linked him to the Visalia crimes.
He admitted in that interview to the Visalia sexual assaults.
Stain still had no idea that those admissions also made him the prime suspect of Debbie Dorian's murder. Investigators pored over the additional evidence in the case file, looking for clues. What other evidence connected him to Debbie's murder?
When Debbie was looking for a roommate, there were notes that we figured were people she was going to interview. There was a partial name scrawled on a piece of paper.
At the bottom of that list, the name Nick, and then it said Tuesday at noon.
Investigators believe that Nick was Nikki Stain. The evidence gave prosecutors an explanation for why Stain was invited into Debbie's apartment on that Tuesday afternoon.
Nikki Stain found her and found her apartment under the ruse of looking for a roommate. And it all lined up with the timing of her murder.
Police were now one step away from making an arrest.
We had to do confirmation DNA testing.
Our lab compared the DNA to the DNA recovered from Debbie Dorian. It was a match.
Even after his arrest, Stain still refused to confess to the murder of Debbie Dorian.
I asked him, do you know Debbie Dorian? No. Showed him a picture of Debbie Dorian. You ever seen her? No. Showed him a picture of her apartment. You ever been in an apartment? No.
His denials were critical. They eliminated any other story Stain may have concocted to explain his DNA being present at the crime scene.
We know that he had been to that apartment because his DNA was located on her body. At that point, we knew that we had our guy.
Now we had him locked into statements. He was ours.
Stain never admitted to Debbie's murder, but investigators believe the evidence and his M.O., the Visalia test, painted a grim picture. Debbie had opened her door expecting a potential roommate. Instead, she met a sexual predator armed for a deadly attack. What do you think happened the day Debbie was murdered?
I think that Nikki Stain called Debbie and asked to come over and look at the room. She let him in, and I think that he pulled a gun on her, and he raped her.
During the assault, Stain wrapped Debbie's head in duct tape and then left as though nothing had happened.
We knew that he was the one who murdered Debbie Dorian.
Police were now able to give Debbie's mother the news she had waited so long to hear.
Vince called me one day and said, "We got him." And I did a happy dance. Couldn't believe that we actually got him.
Prosecutors decided to combine all of Stain's crimes into a single trial. It allowed his survivors to close a painful chapter of their lives as well. How powerful was the testimony of some of his victims?
Sexual assault victims don't forget their trauma. It stays with them, it lives with them. And to have these women tell their story of what he did and how they've survived. Powerful's not a strong enough word. It is incredible.
Perhaps it was seeing the emotional weight of the damage he had done that forced Stain to call a halt to the court proceedings. Or maybe it was just a desperate gambit to have his life spared. Were you surprised when Stain pled guilty to all of the charges against him?
A little. We had elected to seek the death penalty on this case. Debbie's mother was adamant that he accept responsibility for every single crime. And if he wasn't going to do that, then she did not want a plea agreement. So we decided that we would take the death penalty off of the table, but he would have to plead to each and every charge because I wanted her family to hear him accept responsibility for what he had done. And he did that.
In June of 2025, Nikki Stain was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
The relief that brought Debbie's parents, the relief that brought to the sexual assault survivors, to know that he's never gonna get out of prison, to know that he's never gonna hurt another woman, to know that there's at least some justice in the world, made it okay to work out the agreement.
For Debbie's loved ones, it meant closing the book on the most painful chapter of their lives and beginning a journey of healing. What did Stain rob you of?
Well, he took my beloved daughter. He took my life. Your children are really what you live for. And when someone takes that away, they take away your future. I'm especially sad that I never would get to see her wedding. All of those treasured moments just weren't going to happen.